Critical time for the Canadian Football League as we bring in the top insider, 3downnation.com's Justin Dunk from Southern Ontario. We got him. There he is, JD. Hey, it's quite a week. After 133 days of almost nothingness, here we are, my man. What's your take on things in the CFL?
Nothingness is a great way to put it, Roddy. There's still a ways to go here, man. I heard Dupes earlier talking about, well, the players just have to sign off. I'm telling you, if the offer stands as is, the players will not be signing off on it. So these next few days or 72 hours, let's say, are going to be extremely critical. I do think that it is a little bit of a soft deadline, July 23rd, that is, but there's still a ways to go here.
Arash has tweeted this and also texted me that he feels that the Ottawa money to go to the players will be dangled in front of the players as a bonus because they're so desperate right now. And I think he feels they'll vote to play, but the logistics won't allow them to get onto the field. What's your take on his take?
Well, it's funny because Arash and I were literally on the phone this morning and we were talking through how we feel like things can play out, plus some reporting that we've done on both sides. So what I can tell you in terms of what's fresh and new is that the players put out a survey to the union membership, and that returned a no vote overwhelmingly for playing for 33% of their base salary, which obviously would be prorated. So what Madani's getting at and what he just tweeted out is he believes the CFL is sort of holding this 11th hour offer. Now, this is just speculation that the league could up the ante, go to potentially 50% of a prorated base salary for the players, give them a ratification bonus, and in the background, the CFL knows that they could likely get the Canadian emergency wage subsidy that a lot of businesses across Canada are getting to help pay the players. So that's what I'm getting at in terms of there's still lots to play out here. And I believe the Canadian government is supposed to make a decision here or at least discuss a finalization process very soon.
Couple questions. I'm going to try and get them in order here. One, the Winnipeg Hub. What do you think made them so attractive to the CFL presidents to vote in favor of Winnipeg?
Roddy, that question should be for you, man, because you broke the story weeks ago. But I will say that there were a number of factors. Number one, obviously, being the low amount of caseloads there in Manitoba and Winnipeg, obviously leading the country in terms of any province that has a CFL team inside of its borders. Also, the fact that it's in the center of the country, and it's, I hate saying this because you guys are based in Regina, but much more easily accessible for flights around North America, that you can fly direct into Winnipeg, but getting into Regina sometimes is a little tricky. I know even traveling with Dupes that sometimes he had to take flights when we were doing Canada West football games together to Calgary and then into Regina, and kind of had a couple different ones. So the fact that it makes it easier and direct was critical as well. And then also they feel like the facilities there are set up to potentially house the players in a better way. The University of Manitoba has a nice locker room in there in that facility, which helps out. And there's some nice facilities that are close and around the area as well. So I think you combine all of the aspects, and especially the travel one that I feel like some people might be missing out on. And it did really make a lot of sense to choose Winnipeg.
JD, are they still talking Labor Day as a start for a CFL season? Because if they are, I kind of always thought end of July would have to be kind of a deadline to be able to know you're going to play, get a shortened training camp, get players in. You need some time. Is that still kind of the tentative start date if this all goes ahead?
Based on what I've heard, the start date that they absolutely need to get going by is mid-September, end of September, that essentially October was like the absolute latest if you work back on that 6-game schedule. So that's why I do think, Dupes, there is a little bit of time here if they need to push that deadline, but they're only going to do that if they feel like they're making progress towards a season. So a little bit of wiggle room, but as you said, ideally, you're having players into your tentative right now, hub city of Winnipeg, some sort of a training camp to get them ready, because you don't want to have them coming up lame with hamstring pulls and all the other soft tissue injuries that could be possible because of the scenario that we're looking at. So you want to have them have a decent amount of practice time so that the quality of play can be half decent, because a lot of players, you talk to them, they'll tell you that, they use training camp to get back in a rhythm, just quarterback to receiver and all of the rest of the things that the players need to have those reps just to be able to have that high level of play that we're used to watching on TV.
Justin Dunk with us from 3downnation.com. So let's just say all four of Dave Naylor's pillars are met. They've got the hub city. Let's just say the players vote in favor of playing. Ottawa chips in or even underwrites the cost of this, and 4, TSN agrees to broadcast it. Even then, are they over the hump and playing, or are there logistical issues with the border, with testing, with health and safety? Where are you on that?
You hit the nail on the head there, Roddy, that they would have to make sure the health and safety aspect is buttoned down, because from what I've heard in Ottawa, there is some worry in terms of bringing these players from all corners of the United States into Winnipeg. So they would want to make sure that if that happens, that it's done in a healthy way. Now, obviously, recently, the Toronto Blue Jays were allowed to come up from Dunedin, Florida, and hold a training camp in Toronto, but there were strict guidelines there, and they laid it down, $750,000 if you were seen outside the bubble, and potential jail time. So I think those stipulations have to be laid out to the players that, look, if you're coming to play, as much as it might not be easy to be buttoned down for 15 weeks or 105 days or, potentially 3 months, that you got to stay inside that bubble and that you have to adhere to all of these guidelines. And I really think they need to put some financial ramifications in place. The one key factor that I think would certainly help this is if the CFL could find a way, and it's going to take money, obviously, to have a charter or obviously multiple charters where it would only be CFL players on them, because that's what happened with the Jays. They were on 1 or 2 planes, I believe. I think it was even just one that flew into Pedersen, and it was just their group. So they could essentially have a little Blue Jays bubble. So if there was a way to create that for the players coming over the border from the United States into Winnipeg, I think that would make the Canadian government feel much more safer about the plan.
A viewer in Edmonton wants to know if fans will be allowed into IG Field in the event of games.
There's been no talk of fans right now. They're just all focused on keeping a nice, concentrated, potentially healthy and safe bubble for the players and all of the people that are already going to come into Winnipeg to just even operate the league. So fans haven't been discussed yet.
All right. Anything else you got, JD, before we let you go?
Just honestly monitoring the negotiations, which I think, have a sense of optimism around them, but I can also feel a sense of frustration from the players that they feel like a lot of the communication with the league hasn't been at the level still that they would want it to be. And to be quite honest, guys, I think the one factor that is potentially missing here is the CEWS, the wage subsidy program, that if the league would have applied for that way back earlier at the start of the pandemic and essentially compensated the players for 100% of their salary with the government paying 75 of it, or the limit that the government would allow them to be paid, then I think we're really talking here that the players would be proactive and say, hey, at least the league's taking care of us, and we can look at these other aspects outside of the financial ramifications and try to get on the field. So that's what we're working on. What are the implications of not applying for the CEWS yet from the CFL, or is that part of their 11th hour plan to come to the table with securing it from the Canadian government to actually get a season on the field? Lots to monitor.
All right, Justin. So I'll tell people to go to 3downnation.com for all the latest in the breaking news. I'm there multiple times daily. And I got to tell you this. Our analytics last night showed that Ontario is now our number 3 region for viewership for the RP show. And I think a lot of that is going on Game Plus, which is available on Rogers Cable and Cogeco in Ontario. And I also think it's your hair in your eyes. Whatever it is, they're digging it in Ontario. So, Justin, thanks for the report, and keep your ear to the ground, and thanks for finding time for us.
You bet, Roddy. Anytime. Stay safe out there, guys.
All right, Justin Dunk checking in from Southern Ontario.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.